Hey, it's me, Jeff. Been a little while, but good to be back. Um, so today, in my series of videos about play and how play is manifested in different ways, I wanted to touch upon my favorite author, Jack Kerouac. So many years ago, in 1959, he wrote an essay or a short thing called the what is it? Essentials of Spontaneous Prose. And at the end of this little essay that he wrote, there's 30 things that are essential to spontaneous prose. So I thought I'd go through them pretty quickly. Don't worry, it's not going to be super long. About what makes these things essential to um, creativity and whatnot, and the relationship between um, uh, writing and play. So so there's a whole list right here. I'm going to go through them one by one. There's 30 of them. So, number one, scribbled secret notebooks and wild typewritten pages for your own joy. That might be my favorite of the whole 30. Just jotting down the stuff that you think of, and for nobody's benefit but your own. That's really really cool, and it helps you to develop as a writer or whatever you might be, a musician or a game designer or whatever it might be. So submissive to everything, open, listening. What else can I really can't add to that. Just be an open ear to the world, be an open eye to the world, and whatever's being brought to you, accept it and evaluate it on your own terms. But it's always great to have it there. So this one I really like. Try to never get drunk outside of your own house. Well, that's probably pretty good advice. I might add, try not to get too drunk within your own house either. But yeah, outside of your own house, just make sure you have a good driver with you who is not consuming beverages on that evening. So be in love with your life. I love that one. If we can all do that, that's a win. For everybody. Just be in love with your life. You only get one of them. Uh, yeah, that becomes more and more real the older you get. Um, So number 5, something that you feel will find its own form. So, like, it took me a second to, like, sort of think about this one, like, what does he mean by that? But, like, I think I get it. Like, when I'm designing a game, a lot of times I need to make the game find itself. I can't tell the game what it wants to be. The game tells me, and then I can go ahead and design the game along those lines. Very similar with songs. If I want to write this type of song, whatever, that doesn't work for me. It might work for you, and that's cool, but it doesn't really work for me. So I need to let the song or the game or the poem, uh, sort of tell me what it wants to be, and then I can help it become that thing. Be crazy dumb saint of the mind. Well, two things. I love the word dumb saint. As soon as I read it, and this was years ago, but I said, what a great name for a band. But there is a band called Dumb Saint who is, I know, undoubtedly been inspired by Jack Kerouac. But um, you know, uh, I don't know if I can really add to this one, but like just like be yourself, be who you are, be true to you, and the poems, the songs, the games, they'll all come after that. So where we are, blow as deep as you want to blow. So this is a reference to Kerouac's ability and ambition to create a connection with the bebop jazz um, musicians of the era. He was undoubtedly thinking about the likes of Miles Davis and whatnot. Just like, hey man, take a deep breath and blow into that horn, and whatever sounds come out of it, cool. Like let's go with that. And I really like that, and I've tried to incorporate that in my game designs along the way. It's not easy to do. It's not, you know, it's very non-specific. Like in other words, there's a lot of sort of like room for interpretation there. But just sort of like take a deep breath, blow it out, and let's see what happens. So write what you want, bottomless from the bottom of the mind. Well, of course, like be you when you're writing something, whether it's a music review or you're making a game or you're writing your own song or you're writing a book, whatever it is, like it should be you. So write what you want. Don't worry about what other people are thinking or critiquing you as or whatever. Just kind of write the thing, and wherever it goes, it goes. I think that's a pretty cool way to look at life, not just writing. Um, the unspeakable visions of the individual. Well, again, kind of goes back to that whole thing. Just like be you. Maybe the individual. Maybe you have different visions, different interpretations of the world than most people do. That's cool. That's the thing that makes you interesting when you're writing your stuff. And so just you know be proud of that. Just because your interpretation of something is different than others, that doesn't make it wrong. In fact, it probably makes it more interesting and maybe more right than, than other things. So no time for poetry, but exactly what is. I'm not excuse me, I'm not sure I get that one completely, but like poems are what they are. If you take too much time while you're writing them to like make sure you're getting everything exactly right, or iambic pentameter or whatever it might be, just like don't even worry about it. Just write the poem, write the song, make the game, write the book, and it'll come out the way it wants to come out. And I think that's kind of what he's going for right about here. So let's see. Visionary ticks shivering in the chest. I don't know. I don't really know what that means, but I think maybe it means it comes from the heart. Ticks in the chest. Just like, hey, it should come from here more so than it comes from here. So whatever you're making, whether it be a game or a book or a poem. Entranced fixation, dreaming upon the object before you. So yeah, again, like you're thinking of an idea, like I want to make a game about such and such. I want to make a book about such and such. You got to put that idea in your head, but then like let your mind let it run wild, like Brian Wilson would have said with the Beach Boys. Just like kind of go with it. Where does that idea take you? Where can you take the idea? And I think those are kind of cool ways to approach being creative on any particular topic. So uh, uh, remove literary remove literary, grammatical, and syntactical inhibition. Wow, that was a mouthful right there. Yeah. So what Jack's saying right there is don't worry too much about grammar. Just write the hell out of the thing. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect, and its imperfection makes it perfect. So yeah, don't sweat it too much. If like, what does this need a comma or a semicolon or whatever? Like, especially when you're in the actual process of writing the thing, making the thing, don't worry about that too much. Just write the heck out of it, and it'll eventually get you where you want to be. So, all right, let's see. Like Proust, be an old tea head of time. One of Kerouac's favorite authors was Marcel Proust, if I'm saying that correctly. And tea head was a word that he kind of used for the what we might call pothead, or smoker of weed today. Um, you know, I don't think he's necessarily advocating going out and smoking weed, but I think he is trying to like say like, hey man, just like be open, be mellow, uh, everything's going to work out okay, and like sort of like don't be too inhibited in what you're trying to do. So I like that part. But let's see, I have to telling the true story of the world in interior monologue. Okay, so like that's like relating yourself to the world outside of you. So uh, we all experience different things. We all have um, completely unique experiences of life. But like what he's trying to say is there's a commonality there, I think, and you know whatever your internal monologue is, like let's try to connect it with everybody else's the real world monologue too. So um, and all of these things, and I'm going to take a quick pause right here from the list, but like these are the things that like create connect to play, that like it's very creative, it's very you know you're trying to find your path in life, but at the same time you're connecting it with everybody else's path, and there's sort of a game that lies within, right around there, and that's really interesting. It's really fun. um, that's what I've always loved about Jack Kerouac. I used to live in Lowell, where Kerouac was born and raised, and I was reading a book of his one time. I believe it might have been Visions of Gerard, and I'm reading the scene, and I'm literally looking outside my window, going, "Wait, oh my God, he's describing the building across the street." Like it was pretty incredible, Like not too often do we have that happen uh, when we're reading books by any author or whatever. So, um, and s- sort of short, long story short is that I can also remember one of the condominiums that my friends rented for during our college years. It was literally right in the field where Kerouac and his boys used to play football and all kinds of other stuff. Um, and like I would look out the door of those condos. Of course, the condos consumed the field. There was no field there anymore. But I would say, "Oh my God, this is where Jack Kerouac and his boys used to play, and he was writing about it right here." So that's it's pretty cool. I feel a connection to him uh, on that level for sure. Moving right along, telling the true story of the world in an interior monologue. I did that one. The jewel center of interest is the eye within the eye. All right, that sounds pretty Buddhist to me. I'm not really sure what he's going for with that, but like, I guess it's sort of. Let's get down to the meat of the matter, the heart of the matter, and you know, uh, whatever it might be, like the jewel story of interest. Let's not beat around the bushes. Let's get down to the whole thing. Write in recollection and amazement for yourself. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying all along, and that's a lot about and poems and books and literature are about. Just do it for yourself. If you're enjoying it, it might seem selfish. It might seem unfulfilling, to other people at first, but you know, that's really what it's all about. If you're enjoying it, you're making something worthwhile, no matter what it might be. And odds are that people out there in the world are going to enjoy it also. So, uh, work from pithy middle eye out, swimming in language sea. Oh, do I have to do all of these? Again, I think that one's probably mostly like address the core of the matter and let the rest of the ephemera that surrounds it follow. So, accept loss forever. Well, that one I can connect to. It's sort of like if you're making a game or whatever, you've got to accept that some people aren't going to like your game, and that's fine. And a lot of times, whether we're writing a book or a poem or making a game or whatever it might be, or writing a song, it's the people that don't like it that are going to give you the most valuable feedback towards, making something better in the future. So, just accept that. Like it's not a big deal if if you write a song and I don't love your song, it doesn't mean it's a bad song and by any stretch. Just, maybe listen to my criticism and, maybe you change something down the road, maybe you don't. But like at least you're hearing a different viewpoint that you can take that and make something better or different down the road. And I do that all the time when I'm making, especially games. Just, if somebody doesn't like my game while they're sitting at the table, I really appreciate that feedback because, like, hey, what part of this wasn't fun for you? And then the next time I'm making a game or if I'm going to revise the game that they were playing, you know, it can be very helpful. So, all right, believe in the holy contour of life. Well, I guess what he's trying to say right there is um, there's there is a grand scheme, a grand meaning to things, and so believe in that. Like maybe maybe this time it won't work out for you or whatever, but it's not completely random. Like there's some like overall grand plan to all of this. Like Casey Musgraves might say in The Architect, just you know, does it happen by chance or is it all circumstance? Can I speak to the architect? So there's somebody out there. There's something out there, whether you're Buddhist or Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Jewish or whatever it might happen to be. There's somebody out there that's I hope just sort of connecting all these dots together. So, all right, we're getting down to the last third here. Struggle to sketch the flow that already exists in the mind. So yeah, um, I think what he's saying there is like you've got all these sort of disconnected dots in your head that are that that contain all these creative ideas. Um, connect them, find a way to connect them. And I think that's the difference between really successful authors and painters and poets and game designers and the rest of the people in the world. Like just find a way to connect those thoughts and those ideas. Um, it's not always easy, but it's worth it when you do. So um, don't think of words when you stop, but to see the picture better. So I think that connects back to Kerouac's concept of free writing. Just like write the heck out of things. And if you write a whole bunch of wrong words, don't worry about it. Just keep writing, 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 writing. And, to take it to a different place, writing music, notes, chords, this and that, games, make a mechanic, make a mechanic, make a mechanic, um, whatever it might be. And, make them. Let those ideas flow from your heart, from your soul. And then, they'll eventually coalesce at some point into a workable product. It could be that very day, it could be days down the road, it could be weeks down the road, but like you're going to have the ideas out there, and then it's a lot easier to edit something than it is to create something. So spit the ideas out, and then worry about it later if however you want to edit them. I think that's what he's going for there. Keep track of every day, the date emblazoned in your morning. Well, yeah, that one, honestly, out of all these, that's probably one of the more intriguing to me. I mean, it almost sounds like he's saying keep a journal or something like that. And maybe there's some relevance in that. I don't keep a journal. I used to, uh, and reading this, maybe I should again. I don't know, but you know, you know, being aware of who you are and where you are and when you are, maybe there's a value there. So, um, no fear of shame in the dignity of your experience, language, and knowledge. So that one I definitely connect with. That's don't don't be afraid of making a mistake. We all make mistakes, And I think one of the best ways to, to not worry about that is just say, hey, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm human. Um, I'm gonna put my stuff out there, whether or not it's perfect or not, and I'm just gonna keep doing it. And so, if you worry too much about making mistakes, you're gonna hold ideas back that that you'll never wind up releasing to the public that in the end could have been valuable. So yeah, don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's what we're all about. You know, that's true in sports and music, whatever it might be. So write for the world to read and to see your exact pictures of it. Well, that's yeah, just write it for everybody to see. Like it doesn't matter if it's perfect, like we were just saying in the last one there. Um, and it's your experience, your language, your knowledge. Like it doesn't have to be universally true, but if you're speaking from the truth right here in your heart, then you know you're going to connect with people. So uh, yeah, like just write it from the heart. Let people know what it's all about. Don't worry about editing it. As you're producing it, just put it out there, and everything's going to be cool. It's yeah, that's kind of how things work. Let's see. Book movie is the movie in words, the visual American form. Book movie is the movie in words, the visual American form. I can't lie, I didn't like proofread this ahead of time. That one's kind of new for me. Um, I like that idea though, book movie. Like you're writing a book and it's sort of a movie at the same time. Um, Putting those words together in a place where they can be experienced as one cohesive unit. I think that's kind of cool. Um, Even if the cohesive unit is different from what the original intent might have been. Sometimes board games or books or movies or whatever, they take you to places you didn't expect. And I think maybe that's where we're going right here. So, in praise of character in the bleak, inhuman loneliness. So, yeah, be aware of the character, your own character, and the character of your players or your readers or whatever. Just you know, we're all out there. We're all here together, um, and sort of be aware that you don't need to write specifically to a particular demographic or to yourself, but just be aware that they're there, and try to connect with that as much as you can. Down to the last three. Composing wild, undisciplined, pure, coming in from the under, crazier the better. All right. Well, that one, that sounds like grunge music. That sounds like Nirvana. That sounds like Kerouac. That sounds like game design. Just let it all hang out. It's all right there. Let it hang out. Like do your thing the best you can, and other people will connect with it the more authentic to yourself that you are. That and the more that you can be, the better. So, um, and finally, let's see, down to the last two. You're a genius all the time. Well, I like that one. It makes me feel like Brian Wilson. So, yeah, I guess I'm a genius all the time. But I think there's some truth to that. Like, um, there's no outside judge on like who's a genius and who isn't, and all that kind of stuff. Just write the heck out of your soul. You're a genius. Whatever you put out there, it doesn't really matter if anybody else likes it or not. It's just be you. Put it all out there. Put it out there in its purest form, whatever it might be. If you're writing a song, making a game, making a poem, uh, writing a book, whatever it might be, just put it out there in its purest form. And there's a genius to it. It doesn't really matter if somebody else says, "Oh, look at this! This person is a genius because they used iambic pentameter or something." That part doesn't really matter. just write the heck out of it, um, create the heck out of it. And then finally, writer director of earthly movies, sponsored and angeled in heaven. That one might be just a little bit too high level for me to even address, but I think, yeah, Kerouac is suggesting here that there's a level of godliness, holiness that um, connects the ideas that we put out there. I can't speak too much to that, but I would say that even in my experience creating games or whatever, even as a Buddhist, like there's things that where I'm like, wow, that comes from a different place, and I, that part excites me and everything like that. So yeah, so I mean, Jack Kerouac create connects to games in a few different ways, connects to creativity in many different ways. He was a very creative guy. He had some unique ways of expressing himself. He worked very hard to connect his writing, his prose, his poetry to jazz music of the time, and everything from the rhythm and the cadence of his music, to the words that he chose. And it comes down very much to a sense of play, and that's why I brought that up here. So uh, this has been my longest live stream by far. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I appreciate y'all for showing up, and look forward to seeing you again next time. And thanks a whole bunch for being here. If you're into Kerouac, let's go read some more of it. If you've never discovered Jack Kerouac, I I highly recommend that you do discover some. So, all right, have a great day. Peace out. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon.